Okay. Hello, everyone. Thank you for coming and joining us for the Okanagan Virtual Roadshow, hosted by Connector and the Disability Foundation. We're really excited to have you here and to highlight the resources available for people with disabilities in the Okanagan and BC region. We have Alicia, is that how you pronounce the name? My listeners probably asked.
Yeah, Alicia.
Alicia. Well, we have her here for NOTRA, and we're excited to hear more about what the organization does.
Awesome. Thank you for having me. Welcome, everybody. I'm Alicia Butler. I'm the program director with NOTRA. I'm going to just switch over here to my slide. I'm going to stop my video, but I wanted to say hello first. Are we still good there?
Yep, all good.
Perfect. All right. So it's a pleasure to be with you all virtually today. And before I begin, I wanted to thank Connectra and the Disability Foundation for reaching out to NOTRA and just allowing us this opportunity to present to each of you today to share just a little bit about who we are at NOTRA and what we do. And to start off, I probably should explain what is NOTRA. What does it stand for? And NOTRA stands for the North Okanagan Therapeutic Riding Association. And as I said, I'm Alicia Butler. Oh, let me switch screens here. There we go. That's me, pulling the horse there. And I am the program director, herd manager, and volunteer coordinator for NOTRA. I'm in the top 3 photos featured on the screen. And that's my hubby, Dave, in the bottom left, who's a high school teacher in Chase, and our 5-year-old son, Hemingway, in a few of the photos, who's just finishing up kindergarten this week. We have also part of the family 2 rescue dogs. Limu's the beige one in the middle, and kind of hiding behind her is Cody. He's the little guy. And we used to own the Elements Ranch, which was a horse boarding facility I started in Falkland. The photo in the bottom right corner is one of the pastures on our 40-acre property. And I had about 15 horses throughout the year that were boarded with me. It was a little slice of heaven. It's actually where I heard about NOTRA for the very first time when I was trying to find an instructor to teach my then 2-year-old son to ride. So I was introduced to Skye Hamming, who's one of the instructors with NOTRA for over 12 years now. And she let me know that NOTRA's previous program director had just retired after 27 years and they needed someone new. And my career prior to NOTRA and running my own horseboarding facility was in sales and marketing for almost 20 years. I used to travel across Canada as a vice president of marketing. I owned my own digital media agency. And so my business acumen sort of fit the bill with my horse experience. And that's how I came to be with NOTRA back in February of 2020. So it's been an amazing experience since then. I am the one and only year-round official employee for NOTRA. And obviously I wear many hats because of this. It's sort of the way of the world in the volunteer sort of nonprofit world. But I do take care of all the programming, registrations. I answer all the emails and calls. I create and manage all the social media marketing on Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn. I designed our website. I take care of all the grant applications, signage, swag, you name it. I also take care of all of the hiring for the seasonal instructors. So we bring them on for the spring and the fall. I build and conduct all the volunteer training and participate in the monthly board of directors meeting as well. So you name it, I do it. It's quite a bit of stuff on my plate, but it's been a wonderful experience. On top of program directing, I obviously manage the herd as well. So I'm the herd manager, which means I basically just ensure that all our horses are happy and well taken care of throughout the year. I manage booking the farrier, the veterinarian, order and haul the hay. I do all their feed. I also make sure that all their in-kind boarding facilities are arranged for the off season. So we only have the horses at the ranch while we're working for 9 weeks in the spring, 9 weeks in the fall. So the summer and winter, they get to go to other farms for free. And the generous donation of time and the facility of these boarders is amazing for NOTRA as well. And then I obviously would do my rounds to go visit the horses to make sure they're healthy and happy during that off-season time. And then my third role with NOTRA is the volunteer coordinator. So, we have 50 to 100 volunteers with us on a yearly basis. So managing all their registrations, making sure that they go through all their ministry criminal record checks. I do all their training. I do all the scheduling every week for the volunteers and which rider or participant they're going to be helping. So yeah, it's quite a bit throughout the season. But that's enough about me. Let's talk about NOTRA. So the essence of NOTRA is that with the help of horses, we engage the body, mind, and spirit of people living with special needs. I mean, essentially, we are a nonprofit registered charity, and we've been serving the North Okanagan and Shuswap region since 1984. We have participants coming from as far as south as Lake Country, as far north as Sicamous, as far west as Westwold, and as far east as Nakusp. There is no other therapeutic riding program in that region. Kamloops does have one, as does Kelowna has one that's just kind of getting going. So yeah, it's a pretty huge territory, but we're pretty thankful that, 35 years ago, there was a vision of June Osborne and Agnes Sovereign, whose husband, Art Sovereign, had seen the benefits of therapeutic riding in his practice as a physician. And Mr. Sovereign started with approximately 20 clients and was based out of the Osborne Farm in Coldstream, BC, just testing therapy with horses and his patients. And then as his clientele grew, NOTRA had to move around, obviously, in several different private farms in the Vernon area before finally settling in at our current home at the historic O'Keefe Ranch in 1993. So it's been several years. It's an amazing partnership with the O'Keefe Ranch. We're blessed to be there for sure. It's scenic, it's central location, and it allows us to help people living in Vernon and all the surrounding North Okanagan and Shuswap communities quite easily. We do currently have a 7-week spring and 7-week fall session, and our next session has been confirmed for September the 7th to October 25th, 2021, and registration will open next week, actually. So pretty stoked, obviously, given that COVID, we were able to run a fall session and a spring in the last year, which is great. But, as COVID, people are getting vaccinated, it's opening up space and opportunities for people to get out more. So we're really excited to have our fall already kind of locked and loaded and ready to go. We have on average 65 to 100 participants per week while we're in session. So it's quite a bit of people. And obviously to be able to do this, we need a huge team of volunteers each year. And so we're supported by 50 to 100 volunteers and people that generously donate their time and energy to help make what we do possible. So thank you to all our volunteers, if any of them are listening. Our mission at NOTRA is to provide a fun and safe community of inclusion for children and adults of all ages, regardless of their ability or disability, including those who are experiencing physical, mental, or emotional challenges. We have children as little as 4 years old and adults as old as 80 that are participating with NOTRA. It's really open to anyone with a disability that is interested in participating and wanting to have some time with horses. Our program offering is we do have 3 therapeutic equestrian programs for children and adults of all ages to participate in. Our long-standing one when we started, it's the Therapeutic Horseback Riding Program. And new this year, we introduced in the spring a therapeutic driving program and a therapeutic natural horsemanship. All the programs are 7 weeks long, and each lesson is 45 minutes for the kids and up to an hour long for the adults. It just depends on the program that they're choosing. We do like to keep our lessons to a small group of people. So for therapeutic horseback riding, we limit the group size to 4 riders, and each rider would be designated a volunteer lead walker for safety purposes. And those with limited to no core strength, we also ensure that they have 1 or 2 sidewalkers depending on their needs. We are very fortunate to have a fully wheelchair accessible ramp that leads to an electric pulley system. And the cool thing about this, of course, is that it allows us to help mount people who are completely wheelchair bound, like a quadriplegic, who does not have enough flexibility or motion to mount a horse from a mounting block, of course. So it's a really great tool. And you see that in a portion of the ramp, obviously in the bottom right photo there. Obviously, you might be asking yourself, who could benefit from NOTRA and our programs? And truly, I would say any time spent with a horse for anyone is time well spent. I'm a little bit biased, of course, but no, truly, I get feedback all the time from parents or caregivers just sitting on the sidelines, even just watching what's going on. There's a therapy involved for them, not to mention, of course, the participants themselves and our volunteers that are partaking. It's really a win-win for everybody. But we have heard from several participants, their parents or caregivers, and even the OTs, that our programs have benefited children and adults with the following disabilities. This is by no means an exhaustive list, but a sample list of what we know our programs have helped. So I'll kind of leave that on the screen for a quick sec for everybody to have a chance to go through them. And my understanding is this being recorded. So for anybody that wants to look back, it's there for you. So let's talk a little bit about our long-standing program, the one that initiated NOTRA in the first place. That's our therapeutic horseback riding. And so some of the benefits here that we can experience in therapeutic horseback riding specifically, it's psychological benefits for one. So general sense of well-being or improved self-confidence, that's a big one that we see. You know, it's quite daunting to get on top of a huge animal, right? That's 1,400 pounds. So just the self-confidence to do so is a big milestone for a lot of people. Increased interest in the outside world, because you know a lot of the programs I think that are available for people with special needs are indoors, so this is a really unique experience to be outdoors on a day-to-day basis. And improved risk-taking abilities, development of patience, emotional control and discipline. So those are just some of the psychological benefits, I would say. Social benefits, there's a big one there, of course. So interaction and development of friendships with the volunteers and other riders. We have some riders that have been riding with NOTRA and the same participants for over 10 years. They come back year after year, they request to ride together, they're buddies. They even see each other outside of NOTRA. So it's pretty awesome to be able to see these friendships bloom over the time. Development of respect and love of animals. That's another big one, especially for the children we find that are diagnosed with ADHD or autism. You know, we had a really great success story of a child this season that was the goal, is to have a more respect for animals. And you have to respect an animal of this size. So much so the program worked so well for this child that the family had asked if they could care for one of our horses over the summer months in the off season. We've never had this happen before. And so it's pretty amazing. So we made that happen. And obviously they made it happen because they wanted to continue over the off season to be able to come back in the fall, still ready to go. So really great opportunity there. So it just increases their overall experiences in life. There's obviously several physical benefits. Now, I know I mentioned a few on the disability side on the previous screen, but very specific to the physical side, I would say improving balance is probably our number one element that helps, or strengthening their core muscles. It's amazing how many little muscles you didn't realize you had until you go horseback riding. Trust me, you feel it for a few days always, but even so for our participants. They improve their coordination, they have faster reflexes, better motor planning. They decrease spasticity, increase range of motion in the joints, and improve respiration and circulation. So a lot of great benefits there. Sensory integration would also be under there. And then finally, I would say on the educational benefits, sequencing, patterning, and motor planning. And I'll get into sort of what a typical day looks like for a rider with us. Differentiation between objects, improved eye-hand coordination, and visual spatial perception would be all items I would say are the benefits on an educational side. So just a quick typical lesson for one of our participants, and once they've mounted, is that it starts off in our arena, which the arena, you can see in the bottom left photo, we have it all set up with different equipment that's going on there. And the rider would start off with a series of stretching and flexibility exercises for about the first 5 or 10 minutes. Then they spend about 15 to 20 minutes completing the obstacle course and the curriculum with the help of the lead walker, of course. And then the final 15 minutes ends with a trail ride around the historic O'Keefe Ranch. So you can see the trail ride happening in the bottom right photo. We get to go through all these historical buildings, and they get to see all the historical tractors and machinery. They go through different farm animals. So it's over 80 acres, the O'Keefe Ranch, that we can go wherever we want to on the property for the trail ride. And every week, the arena obstacle course completely changes, as does the theme. So we do like to have a fun theme involved. So we had, you know, a superhero themed week. One week we had Spring is in the Air, where we had the whole arena set up with flowers and garden stuff. We also did the Pony Express, where riders had to bring mail from one mailbox at one end of the arena to the other end of the arena while going through the entire obstacle course. You know, we use letters, numbers, imagery, props, barrels, rails, basketball hoops, hula hoops, you name it, voice commands, and everything else to help stimulate and keep it fun, of course, for our participants each week. But it really, all the benefits that I previously mentioned, everything works together to help make that happen. The next program that we have that was brand new to NOTRA this week is our 7-week therapeutic driving lessons. This is so awesome. It's an amazing partnership that we've just started with the Okanagan Sleigh and Wagon Adventures. So fortunate to have Kathy and Caitlin on our team this year. They had reached out to see how they could help us, NOTRA, and be part of NOTRA. So if you don't know Okanagan Sleigh and Wagon, they do all the sleigh rides at Silver Star Mountain, as well as they do the wagon rides or the cart wagon, like the historical wagon at the O'Keefe Ranch as well. So it's a really great partnership. And this equine-assisted program provides a cart or wagon alternative for those participants who want to still feel a horse, but maybe they're unable to ride on the back of a horse due to weight, balance, fatigue, and or the ability to sit astride. So our weight limit is directed by the Professional Association of Therapeutic Horsemanship, which the acronym is PATH, and that's one of the associations that we're regulated by. The weight limit is 210 pounds. And we have to consider the saddle and other tack equipment weight that will also go on the horse. So for the safety of the horse and our volunteers and the riders, there needs to be a limit in place. So the rider maximum weight is 210. So if they can't do our therapeutic horseback riding, cart driving is a perfect opportunity for them to still partake. It's also pretty cool. We had some riders, no joke, that have been with us for 15 years and they just want to try something new. In fact, our participant in the bottom right corner, he's our oldest participant right now. He's 73 and he's been doing therapy riding for like 15 years. So he just wanted to try something different. So it was a great opportunity for him to experience this. We do specific goals for each participant because we do know that there are going to be physical, cognitive, different disabilities that might be in play. So even though we might have a curriculum, even on any of our programs, we customize that based on the abilities of each participant. So each participant has the ability, though, if we were talking a much more higher functioning, they can learn how to harness from the get-go, as well as lead a 2-horse team. They drive with their own set of reins. They give the verbal commands and they can help untack the horse as well. Pretty cool of Okanagan Sleigh and Wagon, what they did is they created a very special harness system for us with the reins. So in the top right photo, you'll notice the instructor as well as the participant are both holding reins. So the participant full on gets to drive these horses, but if ever there was an emergency situation, the instructor has their own reins that do supersede the participant, so they can take over if need be. Because it's in a wagon too, we can have the caregivers join us or the parents. So it just adds another level of comfort for them, for the participant, because we're new to them, right? So they don't know who the NOTRA instructors are. So if they have their OT or caregiver or whatever with them, they can sit in the back of the wagon, which you can see in the top 2 photos. And they can come along. And honestly, it's therapy for them as well, the caregivers, because they get to have a timeout and just get to go around the ranch. And it's amazing, again, to see how the participants change from arrival to the end of their session. It's such a fun experience to see somebody that maybe came totally amped up, they're ADHD, they can't sit still, they're screaming, whatever that looks like, to such a calm, quiet, controlled, focused individual on the horses or while they're driving. It's so awesome to watch and be part of. All right, that's therapy driving. The next one up, our third and final program that we have in play right now is the Therapeutic Beginner Natural Horsemanship Program. So currently this spring and fall, it is a beginner program and we are looking to increase this to an intermediate and advanced, but because it's brand new, we're still testing out our beginner program. And participants, they get to learn how to properly and safely catch a horse. You know, you're going into a paddock with multiple horses. You got to learn about safety before you even enter. You can lead the horse. You're going to tie it. You're going to learn how to groom the horse top to bottom. Feeding, stable management, hoof and tack care, how to identify illnesses and diseases and injuries in horses will also be taught. And we also obviously teach the horse anatomy, the groundwork, which groundwork, of course, is in an arena setting. That would be that middle shot in the bottom where you're exercising a horse in an arena setting. All the different disciplines. So we obviously teach in both Western as well as in English, and we'll explain sort of the different disciplines as well as the tack that we use and when and why to use certain ones. And the biggest focus I would say during this program, it's on equine body language and the behavior of the horses, this horse psychology. And so the different techniques that we use in horsemanship are the main focal points of this program. By the end of the 7 weeks, the participant is able to totally retrieve the horse on their own, tack them up, and go for a ride. So I most definitely would say this is for medium to high functioning children or adults, because it is a lot of information that we're sharing with them, and it's a big responsibility. You know, this builds the main foundation if you want to own a horse, or you're wanting to train a horse, or just ride a horse even. This is really a great foundational program, but there is a lot of knowledge that is shared in this session. So thankfully, in our program, we are seen as an essential service as well as an athletic service for both children, teens, and adults. So there are a lot of funding opportunities that are available for participants. And the ones that are on the screen right now are the ones that we worked with just this spring alone. So there's more that is out there, but these are the ones I know 100% support NOTRA, and we're already kind of approved in their programs. As far as funding was concerned, I would say 60 to 70% of our participants fell at least under one of these categories. We ourselves do offer a low income subsidized rate. So the regular rate of a lesson for a group lesson, because we do have different rates for group versus private, but if we just speak about group lessons for a minute, it's $65 a lesson for 7 lessons. So that's $455. If you do qualify for the low income rate, we drop that to $40 a lesson, so $280. And mostly that's just our subsidized rate. Then you can still apply for any of the funding that's available on the screen here too. So I would say in 99% of the cases, it's 100% coverage for a lot of people that are partaking in NOTRA's programs, which is great. It just opens the doors for so many people. And we're always open if people know of other ones that are happening in other communities. Please, you know, I would love to hear about them as well so that I can share that knowledge on to our participants so that everyone can partake if they wanted to. So the essential joy of being with horses is that it brings us in contact with grace, beauty, spirit, and freedom. There are many ways you can become involved with NOTRA, even if you don't want to be a participant. So I quickly wanted to touch on our different volunteer opportunities that we have available. So volunteers, you know, they obviously are the heart and soul of NOTRA. Thankfully, we have a very enthusiastic and dedicated group of volunteers who help in lessons on a weekly basis while we're in session. We're so proud to say that our volunteers have pretty much as much fun as our participants do. You can hear them laughing and smiling with the participants. It's quite a bonding opportunity, right? There's a lot of trust that's involved when somebody's a lead walker and then the participant, and for our instructors as well. So it's a really great experience for everybody. And the setting in itself, you're outdoors, you're at this historical property. Trust me, my office is pretty amazing getting to work at the ranch when we're in session. I love it. And then just the health benefits, right? You're walking a lot with the riders. So it's a great health activity for our volunteers as well. There's lots of unique benefits that can be achieved from helping others, and they're immeasurable. And we have several volunteer opportunities in lots of different forms for all ages, abilities, and enthusiasm levels. So whether you have special needs or not, we welcome you to NOTRA, either as a participant or as a volunteer. So we have opportunities from, you know, board of directors who provide a solid foundation for the organization, to lesson volunteers like lead walkers or sidewalkers who support the riders and instructors during and after lessons. Obviously, we have farm hands and ground maintenance where you're helping with fencing or hay feeding or cleaning out troughs. So that's where a lot of the kids are involved in that kind of stuff. Painting even, we did a lot of painting in the spring. So for fences or different tools. Special events committee, fundraising, we always need help with funding. So getting teams involved in those. Obviously, this year was a bit of a unique year with COVID, but we're looking and gearing up for our fall session to be able to do some fundraising events. If you have a special, I would say, career background in legal, accounting, bookkeeping, photography, videography, or graphic, it's always something that we could also use some extra assistance with. And I mentioned board of directors. I've just noted their email address here, which is notraboard@gmail.com for anybody that's interested to join our board member. If you have any kind of life experience that would help us grow as an organization, we definitely would love to hear from you. I attached some useful links. So, you know, obviously I've got our Facebook page here, NOTRA Rides, as well as Instagram. So if you can follow us, that's where I give all the program updates when it's time and just some regular information on our world. We also have our different programs that are outlined, as well as our volunteering link as well. And then some of the 5 main I would say funding opportunities that we work with mostly. Their links are there as well for where parents or caregivers or participants can directly go to apply for funding. And then I've put our contact email information down below as well as our website. I do all the emails and phones, so it's going to be myself that you're going to be speaking with. So I look forward to hearing from anybody if they have any questions after this presentation is over. And I would love to end on a quote that we love, especially at NOTRA. So I'll just read it off to you guys. It says, "We ride to fly, to feel, to touch, to breathe, to laugh, to soar, to overcome, to relax, to prove them wrong, to belong, to feel strong, to heal, to love and be loved back, to communicate without words. We ride to live." And it's an anonymous quote, but I think it truly is an essence of what our participants feel when they're with NOTRA. And so, we welcome everybody to contact us if you're interested to partake in NOTRA as a participant or volunteer, or just want to have some time around the horses. We always have our doors open to you guys. So yeah, I'd like to thank everyone who took the time to learn a little bit more about NOTRA today. And again, to the Disability Foundation and Connectra for allowing us this opportunity to share with you all today. So that's it. If anyone has any questions, feel free to reach out.
I actually had a question.
Yes.
So the programs sound amazing, all three of them. And I was just curious, is there a set amount of slots for those programs, or is it just on a rolling enrollment?
It's a rolling enrollment.
Okay.
To a point. We have so many instructors and so many hours in a day. I can't say that we've ever been at max capacity yet, and that's with 100 to 120 people in past years. I think 120 was the highest year they've ever had at NOTRA prior to my time.
Yeah.
So we will find a way to get everybody in if we can. If we had 500 people, that's a great problem to have. That allows us opportunity to hire more instructors, and that's great. We want to grow as an organization. That's why we're adding new programs. We were contemplating the opportunity to open the doors to the general public as well, because we know there's some therapy opportunities for others, whether it's anxiety or stress even, and not everyone sees that as, of course, a special need, but it is something that we can help people with. So yeah, no, our doors are open to anybody that wants to participate. So the sooner you book, I would say, the better I would say time slot that you're going to have, because we ask participants during the registration process to pick and choose at least 3 days and times. So when we're doing our scheduling, we try to give everybody their first or second pick. That's not always possible. And as we get later in our registration time, that becomes harder and harder to do. But that would be the only thing I would say. The earlier you register, the better time slot opportunity we can facilitate for you guys.
Awesome.
Yeah.
And I guess my other question I was wondering was, how do you train the horses outside of the sessions?
Yeah, so most of our horses, we use the term bomb-proof. I think probably a lot of people are familiar with that. And bomb-proofing, it's still a horse. It's a wild animal at the end of the day. But most of our horses are 20 years and up. They've done this before, they have a lot of experience already. We never just take a green horse that's not broken. We first of all don't have the time to train a young horse. So most of our horses, actually all of our horses that are owned by NOTRA. So we own 5 horses. They were all donated to NOTRA. They already were horses that had been doing years and years of trail riding experience or in the arena. So they don't spook, they have their moments. Something can still startle them. But at the end of the day, they're very safe and secure. On the leased horses, which is what we're kind of more the direction we're going to, just from a profitability standpoint for NOTRA, is that, as a nonprofit, it's a huge expense to own a horse. And I would say probably every horse is close to $5,000 a year of an expense for NOTRA. So we would prefer to lease only during the time that we need. And so the leased horses, we do go to their current home, wherever they're living, to test them out on their actual property where they're at. Because then we would bring them, if we think they pass that and they can do all of the different things that we would like them to do there, we would bring them to the ranch and we test them out at the ranch in a paddock, an arena setting, and trail riding setting for 2 weeks. And some of the horses will make it through and some don't. And whatever we decide, it's for the safety of our participants and volunteers and instructors. And so, yeah, we're very careful about who we bring into the ranch and what programs we use them for before we make the decision to keep them for the actual riders. And some we might test and, they're a weekend and we're still like, you know what, there's still this little thing, and we might have to send them home. But yeah, we're quite cautious about what we do. So
that's so cool.
But I'm always looking for great leased horses, so free leases. So if anybody has an amazing horse that they think would be great, remember, we got children and adults with special needs on the back of these horses. They need to be very well trained, great manners, great groundwork. They have to be able to trail ride and they have to be able to do arena work. But I'm more than open to get some new horses. We need about 10 to 15 horses is ideal when we have about 100 participants, because we want to give the horses a break as well. We don't want to overwork our horses. We like to bring them out maybe once or twice a day. It's great exercise for the horses too. They love all the attention that they get as well, but we want to share that wealth. And yeah, so the more horses we have, the better during session.
Awesome. Well, that's all of my questions, and I'm not seeing any both in Zoom or on the YouTube live stream. But thank you for spending your time here today to tell us more about NOTRA and what you guys do. It's really cool. Just for me personally, who having not really heard about you guys, it sounds really cool.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for this opportunity. We're really happy to be part of your guys' roadshow, and I wish you guys all the best luck as well.
You too. Have a good day.
Thanks, you too. Bye, everyone.
Okay, I think you guys are ready to go now.
Okay, so good afternoon, everyone. My name is Adrienne McLaughlin, and I'm an Employment Services Coordinator with KCR Community Resources. Also joining me today is Courage Bonifoy. She's the Employment Services Manager with KCR Community Resources. And we're excited to be sharing a little bit, an overview of what we do here at KCR, the great work that gets done here. So thank you for joining. And I'm going to go ahead and share some of the programs that we are supporting and the types of individuals who can benefit from our services. Just going to confirm you guys can see my screen. Good. Yes. Great. Okay. So who are we? KCR Community Resources is a not-for-profit multi-service agency reaching various groups and individuals in our community. We are CARF International accredited. We serve the Central Okanagan and have been since October of 1983, so quite a long-standing presence in the Okanagan. And we have diverse funding base, including federal, provincial, and municipal government contracts, private and community foundations, corporate sponsorships, and the United Way. And as we are a nonprofit, we are governed by a board of directors, of course. So we have three main areas of service under our community services umbrella. They include community information. We have a large database of service providers that we make available to individuals in the community. We have publications and also a calendar of events. So we're looking to make and understand what's happening in our community and make it accessible to everybody through our community information services. We also support volunteer management. So we are big promoters of volunteerism. We have a large volunteer database, and we support other nonprofits in learning about the the fantastic outcomes of supporting volunteerism in the community and the ripple effects of volunteerism. And then many learning opportunities as well. We do provide courses to serve primarily not-for-profits. And we do things like board boot camps and how to be really successful in working with your board and developing your agency. Under our family and adoption services, within that, so we provide family-centered preventative supports and program referrals to parents with young children to increase knowledge, skills, and community connections, facilitating the legal and emotional process for adoptive parents, building their family through intercountry and domestic adoption, for birth parents who want to make adoption plans, and children in need of permanent homes. We do many wonderful services here. This one in particular, I think, is very special. KCR is very proud to participate in this way. Under the family and adoption services, we do offer a crisis line. We have a family outreach worker that assists families at risk with parenting skills. We have a mentorship for single parents. You can sponsor a family. We have our family hub, which are referrals and resources, and support from Adoption Center of BC, of course. So yeah, this is a lovely part of the services that's provided. Immigrant Services. So we are assisting immigrants to Canada to feel welcome by providing information and connecting them to the community, promoting the benefits of cultural diversity in our community by coordinating cultural awareness activities. So within our staff, there are 28 different languages that are spoken. The types of immigrant services we can provide range from form filing, healthcare, childcare, employment, housing referrals to ESL and community supports, group workshops with the focus on tenancy rights, pre-employment, legal rights. We make community connection events. We have mentor-mentee mentorships happening, a summer youth program, job club, and the Central Okanagan Local Immigrant Partnership. So we are busy here. We are very proud of the services we offer, and we really encourage anybody that is in need of such supports to give us a call or reach out, because there's much that we can do under this umbrella. Employment services. So I've actually only been with KCR for about 3 weeks today, I believe. And my background is in employment services, have actually been in it for 15 years. So while the KCR way of doing employment services is new to me, the actual sector itself is not. And I've really enjoyed coming to learn about these contracts that KCR has obtained, and working within them and identifying all the ways that the participants can benefit from participation. So obviously we're helping unemployed and underemployed individuals identify career and education goals, navigate job search, and develop essential job skills. We collaborate with employers in the Central Okanagan to more easily recruit quality applicants. So we're not working with just the actual job seekers. We're working with community providers, local agencies, and always looking to build and expand in our employer community. Within our employment services, we have a number of different programs, and we're going to chat about those next. So Mosaic provides skills training and customized employment supports to Francophones, immigrants, and visible minorities. There's one-to-one support available via a vocational counselor. And you will be working within that program towards obtaining suitable and sustainable employment. Sustainable being a really important word. We're not looking to support just the quick job, the temporary job. We're looking here to support you in achieving your employment goal and helping you to achieve some independence. So who's eligible to participate in the Mosaic program? Canadian citizens, permanent residents, or those legally entitled to work in Canada. Unemployed or precariously employed. So precariously employed I like because it's a very gray area, and we can usually figure out how to get people in the program if they're working in a sort of a non-sustainable, more part-time capacity job. Francophone or recent immigrant. So that's having landed within the last 10 years and or a visible minority, and that you're experiencing some barriers to employment. I think that's really anyone. So we can be really flexible with identifying barriers. I think we all have barriers to employment, so there's much support that can be provided there. Our Diverse Abilities program, lovely program. It provides skills training and customized employment supports to persons with disabilities. One-on-one support with a vocational counselor, and we would work towards obtaining suitable, again, sustainable employment. And sustainable looks different for everybody. Sustainable can maybe mean 2 hours a week, 2 days a week, or sustainable might mean 40 hours a week, depending on the needs of the individual. Who can join Diverse Abilities? Again, you need to be a Canadian citizen, permanent resident, or you are legally entitled to work in Canada. You are unemployed or precariously employed, and you self-identify as having a disability or have been assessed as having a disability. So the key there is that self-identified does not mean you have a formal diagnosis, but that you identify that you have a disability and it is impacting your employment or your capacity to obtain employment. The work reentry program after criminal justice involvement, this is great. So this program provides skills training and customized employment support to individuals who have been involved with the criminal justice system, provides one-on-one support with a vocational counselor, and prepares, again, always looking for our outcome here, for suitable, sustainable employment. So who's eligible for this program? Unemployed or precariously employed participants, an individual who has been incarcerated and or has prior criminal justice involvement, an individual who may be facing one or more barriers to employment, and they are legally entitled to work within Canada. So this is a fantastic program. We're looking forward to supporting such participants. Our peer mentorship program, this is quite near and dear to me. Again, this program assists individuals at risk or who are experiencing homelessness, find suitable, sustainable employment. It is one-on-one support that's provided from a vocational counselor, and the purpose is to work towards obtaining suitable, sustainable employment. So, what's really neat is these individuals may not have been employed traditionally in a very long time. And this is a wonderful opportunity to be mentored by someone who is entrenched within the community, who can offer some fantastic support, motivation, some wisdom, and support you in beginning to move along that employment continuum. So the peer mentorship program, again, you need to be a Canadian citizen, permanent resident, or legally entitled to work in Canada, at risk of homelessness or experiencing homelessness. You are unattached to the labor market, or you are unemployed, and you are facing one or more barrier to employment. So we're having a lot of success with this program, and some great mentorships that are positively impacting our local communities. So really, really enjoying this. our Career Paths for Skilled Immigrants program. So this program's for internationally skilled professionals to help get them their first skilled job in Canada. And that's the key, skilled job. So individuals need to be a permanent resident within the last 5 years. They need to have an intermediate to advanced level of English, so a CLB of 5 or 6 as verified by a local assessor. They need to have 3 years of pre-arrival experience and educational certification. So that can be a degree, a diploma, or a certificate, or 1 year of pre-arrival experience if you're youth, so ages 19 to 30. I love that definition of youth. It's broad. And they're currently underemployed or unemployed. So quickly, I'll just share on the screen here what we provide. So action planning that is tailored to participants' career goals, English training and workplace language training, job search support for participants' targeted occupation, evaluation and assessment of credentials, really, really important. Partially or fully funded skills training and upgrading, mentoring and networking opportunities to gain Canadian work experience through work placements, and one-on-one help with participants' job search. So this is an incredible program for people who have come to Canada and they need to get their credentials recognized, and they want to be working in the same occupation as they were prior to coming to Canada. Next is our Options 55 program. So it's Options 55 is specifically designed to assist job seekers 55 years of age or better to re-enter the workforce. The participants will have access to a job developer through a job club that happens on Monday afternoons here at KCR. They are eligible potentially for financial supports related to their job search and 12 weeks of individualized follow-up and coaching. So we support participants to know who they are, embrace who they are, and then from an empowered place, research viable industry sectors that hold fulfilling career options for them, and then dive into a targeted job search. We utilize self-assessments and online platforms, including but not limited to personality dimensions, career dimensions, transferable skills, and values assessments, career cruising, and curriculum on best practices for resumes, cover letters, networking, job searching, and interviews. All of our staff are just lovely and so well suited for the programs that they run. And this Options 55, her name is Susie, and she's fantastic to work with. Okay, so moving into our STEPS program, I'm going to give you an overview. The STEPS program is designed to support individuals in obtaining certification in an area that we need to grow our labor market. So for this particular STEPS cohort, we are supporting with the tuition costs for medical office assistants and building services workers. In the BSW, building services workers, we can take up to 15 participants. 4 weeks of that will be in Zoom class with KCR, followed by 7 to 8 weeks at Okanagan College. We've partnered with Okanagan College for this. We have ran this previously and we were very successful. So we're running it again. They'll do 2 more weeks in Zoom class at KCR. So a total of 6 weeks with KCR. They'll attend a weekly job club while they're in their job search. So once they've completed their program, they'll be connected to a job developer and the job club. They'll have 3 months of individual follow-up around the job search. And this includes on the job support as needed. So it's a very holistic approach. We support you from the beginning all the way through to obtaining employment, and even once while obtaining employment is obtained as a building service worker. Similar with the MOA to what I've just shared, 4 weeks in Zoom class with KCR, followed by 6 months or more at Okanagan College and a 90-hour practicum placement. 2 more weeks for Zoom with KCR, the Job Club, 3 months follow-up, and on the job support as required. So again, I'll just reiterate that there's no cost for the tuition for these programs. Obviously, there's an eligibility attached to it. You do need to be a Canadian citizen or permanent residency status, and there are some exceptions for refugee status. You need to reside in the central Okanagan. We sort of run from Lake Country to Peachland. Unemployed or underemployed, meaning that you're working less than 20 hours a week and that you're not currently attending school full or part-time, and that you are above the age of 19. So those are some preliminary eligibilities, and we would get into that further with you. So, wow, fantastic opportunities. If you know people or you yourself are a great fit for either of these programs, please reach out to us and we'll talk to you about start date for the next cohorts. And then we have Work BC. So KCR and Work BC have a partnership that provides participants with one-on-one specialized employment consultants and coaching supports one-on-one and via group and workshop. We have access to training funds and other job search related financial supports. And access to computer resource center and on-the-spot employment supports and coaching. So there's a fantastic partnership established with Work BC. 2 of our specialized employment counselors actually work in the local Work BC centers to support participants. So we have sorted out how to work together collectively, and we're excited at every opportunity we have to utilize that partnership. And then this last one has a lot of acronyms, which I'm going to read off because, again, still learning a little bit. But the WIMBI, WIMBI, is the Workplace Integration for Multi-Barriered Individuals. And the PICS that you see is Progressive Intercultural Community Services Society. So we have a contract with them and provide these WIMBI services. KCR and Progressive Intercultural Community Services partnership provides participants with access to workshops and one-on-one employment coaching and support, and access to foreign credential recognition and related financial support. So that's the FCR, the credential recognition, for individuals that are needing financial supports in the via a loan to be able to have those credentials recognized. So how do you find out about all of this? Because this is just a quick summary, is that you contact us. We do have weekly information sessions. You can contact us at any time, but Tuesday in particular, we do have an intake session, or an information session rather, where you will work with an intake specialist and sort of hear about the different programs and begin to identify what's right or best suited for you. So that's Tuesday at 1 p.m. To join, you can fill out the registration form, and I do have the link up here on the screen. Patrick is your contact for intake, so his phone number is there, 763-8008, extension 270, and his email has been included as well. And we can email out this information at the end of the presentation so that everybody has it. And how to contact us. So this is where we are. We are located at 620 Leon Avenue here in Kelowna. Our phone number and our website, we have a fantastic website. So jump on there. There's lots of ways to contact us, and we'll ensure that everybody that's participated will get that information. So I am going to call on Courage a little bit here. Courage, if we have any questions about the programming, as I mentioned earlier, I'm still quite new. So if there are questions, send them our way, and Courage and I will answer them for you.
Thank you very much, Adria. For someone who is new, that's a lot of information. Thank you.
No problem.
Oh, while we wait for questions, if there are any, I just wanted to add to everything that Adria said, that for individuals to be eligible for our programs, they have to have one or two barriers. And those barriers range from not being able to find a job the traditional way, where you look online and then you apply. Aging can be one of them. Youth can be one of them. Self-diagnosed mental health can be one of them. Language barriers can be one of them. Anything you can think of. In fact, there are up to 100 barriers. So anybody really can fit into that category. And another thing is, our program, as you know, are provided virtually these days. And we are looking into hybrid in September. We are following the government COVID-19 protocols right now. So everything is done virtually. And there are cases where individuals are not able to, let's say, fill out a form by themselves, or they are not able to do things by themselves. We still invite them in and follow the COVID-19 protocols. And we have a special conference room that is set up with 2 monitors, and we maintain the social distancing. And what else can I think of? So we do have, because most of our participants are they are challenged with digital literacy. We do loan out, we have a laptop loan program where we loan out laptops to participants, and we assist them throughout the process, either to enhance their digital literacy, or even just to guide them through applying for jobs or resumes, cover letter, anything you can think of. I'll stop talking now. Questions?
Okay, I think if we don't have any questions, thank you so much for participating today. Courage and I were really excited to have this opportunity to share the fantastic programming available through KCR. And we look forward to seeing people, referrals, or if you yourself are interested as an individual, please reach out. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
Today, a little bit more about what they do and how to get involved. And to speak, we have Eric here.
Thanks so much, Angela. Full disclosure, and this is live streaming. It's really hot in my apartment, so I realized that the fan is on in the back. So I'm just going to turn that off in case people are wondering what that noise is in the back. So let me get rid of that, and then we will get into the reason why we're here today. All right. So that probably makes it quieter in the background, easier to hear. And we do have, I do want to say that we do have a presence in Kelowna. We have our own Kelowna chapter. Our coordinator's name is Kathy Glover. So if you are interested in contacting her, Angela, what I'll get you to do for me is if you could go to the Tetra website, and then if you look under our chapters, you will see Kathy's email there. I believe it's Kelowna@bc@tetrasociety.org. We'll make sure to include that in the chat as we do the presentation. So I'm going to do a screen share. And my #1 Zoom thing is always make sure that I share the sound. And I'm going to pick this one here. And here we go. All right. As always, Angela, I thank you for joining me, and I'll just ask you to give me a thumbs up if you can see the PowerPoint on the screen. Okay. Tetra Society of North America. For those who don't know, Tetra originally started in 1987 and became a registered nonprofit in 1992. And how it began, right? The great evolution of Tetra. So how Tetra really started was Sam Sullivan, who may be familiar to a lot of you. This is at a high point in Sam's life. And of course, we're talking about Tetra today, but Tetra is one of the affiliated societies that make up the Disability Foundation. I also wanted to take a moment to say happy birthday, Disability Foundation, as they just turned 25 years old. And I have to say, we celebrated that with a great video put together by our comms team. However, I didn't get a piece of birthday cake. But truth be told, I could probably skip the calories anyway. So we're all right there. But all the societies come together and make up the Disability Foundation. A lot of the individual societies are older than 25 years old. And again, Sam is the founder of Tetra. If Sam was here, I've heard him say in interviews he started the societies for self-preservation, meaning that when he was 19 years old and he had his spinal cord injury, as many who have a disability, whether from birth or acquired, can attest to that, one of the main things we want with when we acquire a disability or deal with disability is a quality of life and to connect to our personal interests. So here Sam was, he loved music, he loved hiking, he wanted to do these things, and he realized I need help from engineers. Who builds things? Who creates things? So how Tetra initially started is Sam wrote a letter to the Society of Professional Engineers, APEG BC at the time. And he said, this is who I am. I have a disability. I need my physical environment to change. I have a lot of barriers in my day-to-day life that are getting in the way of my independence. And Sam wrote that letter, and it was answered by a retired engineer who volunteered his time. Paul Chermak is his name. And Paul met with Sam, and within moments came up with devices or ways that Sam could have that greater level of independence. And so that was the concept of Tetra, is connecting somebody who had the skill set and the generosity to give up their time and skills to make said devices to help others. So here is the vision of the Disability Foundation as a whole, and this definitely follows through Tetra, which is to empower and inspire people with physical disabilities to reimagine what's possible. Now, we say physical simply because that's our history, that's our background. Remember, we're talking about the beginning, but anybody can be inspired. Anybody can be a leader. Anybody can be inspired by our programs, whether you're a volunteer, whether you're able-bodied, or whether you have a cognitive challenge. Anybody can reimagine what's possible. We talked about the Disability Foundation and its 25th year birthday. Here are all of our societies. that make up the foundation. And we are going to focus today, of course, on Tetra and its customized devices. So here we are across Canada. Again, we're into the States. And we do have volunteers. This has been a really exciting time. We've been getting volunteer applications from Florida and all over. I spoke with somebody yesterday who was working in the Middle East, and he wanted to volunteer. And so this has been one of the advantages of COVID, is people being able to interact online, and it certainly has been a tool for our coordinators and when running your Tetra chapter. So how do we start a chapter? Well, the saying is every great journey begins with a single step, and usually anything great begins with a single person. So what do we need to start a Tetra chapter? We need you, somebody enthusiastic, somebody willing to get involved. This might be an older term for some, but it's the term of pulled up by your bootstraps, right? So if you as an individual see a need in your community where, hey, we could benefit from Tetra, we could benefit from customized devices for people with disabilities, you know, as a coordinator, you would say, okay, here are people in the disabled community that could benefit. You could definitely connect with health professionals who would be a source of requests. If you know your community, you could also connect with service clubs where you could make a presentation to help fund the startup for Tetra. Because again, Tetra is a nonprofit and our volunteers are giving of their time. So we reimburse the volunteers, we being Tetra as a society, reimburse the volunteers their cost to making of the devices. So bootstrapping is kind of, you know, you survey the area and we pull it up by the bootstraps and get ready to maintain and have a successful chapter. And then we've talked a lot about the volunteers, because as a coordinator, and we have some coordinators who are also volunteers, there are different levels of volunteering. And I already talked about, you know, meeting with volunteers online. We have the technical volunteers. They are coming up with the design concepts or the physical completion of the customized device. We have, you see one of our coordinators here presenting Tetra and pointing at the display board. Outreach is important. This is part of what we're doing with the virtual roadshow, is trying to create awareness about what we do. Definitely be involved. You know, we're happy to present to those in the Okanagan and of course beyond, because we want to connect with communities, and everybody has a story, or every device has a story. You can help tell those stories. You can help with what's called outreach. And then of course, the not such fun task for some is administration. So that's making sure, hey, have those completed project reports been posted on our database, on our website? Have the volunteer expenses gone in? What was the budget for this volunteer event? Who's keeping track of that? But all of these parts come together to make a successful volunteer team and a successful chapter, which of course the coordinator of a chapter helps coordinate. So again, to start a chapter, we try to assess the need in a community, find someone who's passionate to help out. Maybe coordinating starts as a volunteer experience, and then as we move down the road and we secure funds for chapter growth or development, then we would pay the person a fee monthly to coordinate the chapter. Most of our coordinators, they are contracted and work about 12 to 15 hours a month, and they attend events, or you're connecting with your chapter. And as a coordinator, you can also help with outreach. It's really helping create awareness about Tetra. So who can be our volunteers? So again, we've talked about different volunteer roles, but now who makes up the volunteer team? And as a coordinator, as you're starting out the chapter, it's kind of that great universal question, right? Which comes first, the chicken or the egg? So is it better to build your volunteer base and have people that are ready to work on devices? Or is it better to first recruit projects and have a device that somebody could be interested in to create or build? That is always, every scenario is different, but as you start out with a chapter, certainly if you start promoting Tetra and somebody says, hey, I'm an engineer, I'd love to build stuff, I would say on board whoever comes to you first. So if you get a device, then a device request, definitely we'll record that, take that down, then you might want to find a volunteer to work on it. As your chapter is starting out, we can also help out, we being the Tetra network. If you have a device in your area, you can send it out in an email. We have an online forum. Other volunteers help each other with design concepts and ideas. So just to go over who are the volunteers, we have retired engineers, and it doesn't have to be retired engineers. We have volunteers who are health professionals, OTs as well. They volunteer to help remind us of what's available in the commercial market. It's great to have health professionals as volunteers as well. It can be high school students. If somebody's good with wood or metalwork or is really inclined in that way, they could help design a cup holder. Now we have seen more devices through 3D printing. And I've also written here people of all different backgrounds and skill sets. Again, that includes the health professionals that we talked about, wanting to make a difference in your community. Some projects have involved sewing. So if you're good with a sewing machine, somebody maybe they're attending school and they're carrying books and they can't afford a new backpack and they need it resewn and you know how to do that. Or anybody who uses mobility devices will tell you, you know, there's regular maintenance that's required for that. So maybe we have a volunteer that could restitch a cushion, or there's been some custom designed clothes. So I just want to emphasize, whatever skill set you have, it could most definitely benefit the startup of a Tetra chapter. So, and then what is the magic is between the volunteer and the person sending in the request, or as we've described here, the client. So you can see in this example, this was made for this client, and it's called the everything table because it's on wheels, it's adjustable, and it can be pushed right up to the fridge for meal preparation. I myself, my one side, my left, I'm completely left-handed, and my right side is not as mobile. It doesn't have the same level of dexterity. So I know when I'm driving my chair, I only am carrying one or two things. So this table enables this client to put all of their food on the table, and then it's on wheels and they can wheel it, and they don't have to worry about dropping things, physical strain of carrying stuff. And then as you can see, you can change the angle, and it's great for that morning coffee. And what a better time to sit out there and look at the sun, right? We just had our first day of summer. Or read a book. So the client refers to this again as their everything table. So, and that they worked on that design together. And what I mean by that is every request that Tetra receives is client driven. So that's another thing when you're starting out a chapter. We are designing customized devices for a person's individual needs. It's really important that they have their individual say in what they need to be created. So what is filled out is called a request for assistance. It's available online. I should mention, we want to make this process as easy as possible. I'll put my hand up as well. Nobody likes to fill out forms. And I'm not a fast typer. You've already heard me talk about my hand dexterity. So believe it or not, we still get our face faxed in. And even I am working from home. We're working from home because of COVID protocols, but I have a work cell phone. And just this morning, I had my colleagues who are at the office forward me messages. So if you click on the form and if you have any questions, we have a toll-free number that you can call, and then the message will get forwarded to me and somebody will get back to you. I have spoken to people over the phone and filled out the request on their behalf. As long as you verbally know that the request is being filled out for you, I can help fill it out and help type in your name as far as the signature, and I can serve as the witness. So we do have a toll-free number which is available at our website, which is 1-877-688-8762. So that's the toll-free as well. I don't know if we want to put that in the chat, Angela. That toll-free 1-877-688-8762. So if you want to call in, and or if you're wondering, what is Tetra about? You know, I'd like to start up a chapter. I'd like to tell other people about it. Okay, you've kind of described some devices, but what is a Tetra device? What is Tetra? Well, we have this online database. It's on the main page of our website, and it says search our database right on it. And I refer to this as like the Amazon of assistive devices. So wherever possible, we try to put a picture in, if not a picture, a written description. And this is volunteer driven. This is what happens when a project is completed and the volunteer writes out a description describing the device that they have created. So if you want to get involved and you're excited about the work that Tetra is doing, or maybe you're technically skilled, and again, there have been people who have been a volunteer and also a coordinator, and you want that spark of ideas of what is Tetra about, search our database. You can get an idea, and if you could say, I would love to be a coordinator, start a chapter, and help facilitate the completion of such devices, great. Or I would love to build such devices and be a volunteer for a chapter that's starting up, great. So here's some other examples. I just put these in to show you that Tetra is for all ages and all aspects of daily living. I also show this picture to talk about the limits of Tetra. We are not a funding organization. We can't buy you the wheelchair. We can't buy you the cell phone, but we can create a device that will enable you to hold the cell phone. I always know a great take up of my time is if I drop things on the floor and then I have to pick it up, and you know, so I have different devices. I have a modified reacher and I have different sticks and all of those things. And so for this individual here, you can see the phone is out front of them. No fear of falling. You can turn it on. You can have conversations. And that is one of the things. If you're wondering what is some of the current trends of Tetra, well, technology. Definitely iPad holders, cell phone holders, tabletops to be able to, just like this fellow is here, to be able to use your laptop right in front of your chair. And every mobility aid user will tell you, I don't have a lot of space. So the more compact we can make things, the better. So you can see here, this fellow has a tray for food. On top of that tray is a cup holder. He has a tilted iPad and he has a cell phone. So he has an option of 4 different things right in front of him. A table to eat, his way to communicate, make calls if he wants, or a cup holder if he wants a drink. Again, Tetra of all ages. So this lady is using what's called a lip sync. She is moving through what she is reading with the use of the lip sync with her chin. And then this was the mount done by Tetra. This mounts onto the end of her chair. It can be removed when not in use. So again, you're never too old to have a customized device, or you're never too young. I think the youngest client I know of over the years was 1.5 years. and the oldest was 97. So literally, if you were a coordinator and starting at a chapter, you would be helping people all different aspects of daily living. And another thing that we have that Tetra is happy to do is send out necklays to those in the Okanagan and all over the province. And so let's play a little video that will let you know what NetClay is all about.
NetClay is a device that translates what you can do to what you want to do. NetClay is the first access method device that is affordable and customizable. Users with varying degrees of mobility are able to tailor inputs to their exact needs, allowing them to interact with their computers by plugging in one or more sensors or switches that they are able to manipulate. And by using open source software and inexpensive hardware, NetClay is available at an accessible price. From a single button to joysticks and gyros, users no longer have to consider their barriers. They can consider the possibilities. Please visit us at netclay.ca to explore the possibilities and start your journey with NetClay.
So again, that's another thing that Tetra can offer. What'll happen is NetClay, the form can be found on the Tetra website. You can fill that out, and then a NetClay will be sent out to you. Now, one of the things that was said in that video, and I want to bring that up about the Tetra devices in general, is it said NetClay is an affordable solution. So the Tetra devices, again, we being Tetra as a society, reimburse the volunteers their cost to make the devices, but the devices themselves are pay what you can. So if you're watching this and you think, I want to help people, I want to be a coordinator and I want to help facilitate these kind of devices being completed, but how much does it cost? Well, Tetra will pay up to $500 per project to see a project, to provide funds to help a project become completed. And if the individual that the device is being made for cannot afford such costs, it's okay. The main focus of Tetra is to provide these devices, provide people opportunities, as we see in this picture here, right? Summer season, first day of summer, we've talked about that. So one of the things everybody's really proud of in the Okanagan and in Vancouver is their own gardens. So here's an example of a modified gardening tool. It goes up this individual's arm and there's a handle on the middle of the tool. And again, in most scenarios, right, the garden tool, the handle's at the end, but this has been modified to work with her needs and what she requires. And Tetra can help modify those devices. Everything is custom made and about designing it so that it works with your needs. Every time I look at this picture, I don't know why that CD is hanging there, but very interesting nonetheless. But nevertheless, maybe it's used to help reflect the sun. I don't know. But you know, every time you do a presentation, you notice different things yourself. But whether it's adaptive gardening tools or something if you wanted to play music. Now, when I was growing up, I played recorder in my music class in elementary. My parents suffered through the Christmas concert performances and all of those things. But an adaptation was made to help this individual be able to play the recorder independently. They needed a holder, and then some other adaptations were added so that it was easier to hit the necessary notes of the recorder and cover the holes needed to make said notes. And then, of course, we have, you know, kind of that things we do for ourselves, the recreation. So here, this was a palette. You can see this painter is mixing his paints, and then this palette will adjust as he's ready to paint the next section. So he can see part of his painting, he can mix his paints are out in front of him, and then the palette actually slides across the easel. And then, of course, it is the Stanley Cup playoffs. Cheer for whatever team you want. So here's an example of street hockey. So again, it doesn't have to be a complicated device. If you were a coordinator of a Tetra chapter, you are helping facilitate somebody with a disability meeting with somebody who is technically skilled. And a lot of times the devices don't need to be complicated. You know, this individual wasn't able to hold a hockey stick in a traditional way. So the hockey stick now attaches onto his arm, and then he can play with his kids, play street hockey, go out and score goals. So, and this project was done by our Halifax chapter. So remember, Tetra is coast to coast, and we do have chapters in Vernon and in Kelowna in the Okanagan area. So we're always looking for more. You know, an opportunity to start a chapter would be, for example, in Kamloops, which isn't too far away. And then, of course, everybody needs to get up and brush their hair or brush their teeth. And you can see this suctions onto the mirror, brushing your teeth hands-free. And then it's never a bad idea to have a smiling baby in a presentation, is it, Angela? So this is another part of Tetra. I'll often get asked, what different projects have you seen over the years? So we are proud to say that we are getting more requests from parents who are looking for an easier way to care for their children. So as we all know, from a sitting position, it's probably not very safe to reach up over the bars of the crib. So people will ask, well, is the crib still safe? So I say, absolutely. The structure of the crib stays the same. You can see the bars are the same width apart, and actually it's actually been framed and reinforced. And then there's a locking mechanism. That's what those gold latches are on the outside. So only mom can open it there. And the baby looks pretty happy. She raised 2 children in this crib, but rather than having to reach up over the bars, it was modified so that it's bifold doors. So you kind of open it, kind of like an accordion style or kind of the old saloon style. You pull the bars, instead of reaching over it, you pull them apart, and mother and baby are face to face. Good times had by all. And then here's some different examples, right? Anybody who uses a wheelchair will tell you a power chair is different than a manual chair. So we have 2 different types of child carriers based on the type of mobility aid you have. And we talk about Tetra Society of North America. The one on the left was actually done by our volunteer in Columbus, Ohio. And this one here was done in Vancouver. Some of you may be watching, may recognize the background. This was actually for a patient at GF Strong, the rehab center in Vancouver. Now, we talked about volunteers. So another thing that we're always looking to start, that is a vital part to Tetra. So we've talked about volunteers, and of course, fresh eyes, young minds, and kind of the next generation of problem solvers. So if you are, and I know that Kathy, our coordinator in Kelowna, has done a number of presentations at Okanagan University of British Columbia. I think that's the long name. And if you're looking to start a student club, so there's clubs on campus. I know I've had the privilege of presenting a number of times when UBC opens up and it has its club days, and there's booths all around. Join the environmental club, join the rugby club, join the football club. Well, if you're an engineering student, start a Tetra club. We have very active university clubs. We have one at UBC in British Columbia. We have a very active one in Memorial University in Newfoundland, and of course in Ontario. So what the clubs do is they either will work on devices that come from students themselves. Maybe some of the students know somebody on campus who could use an easier way to hold their laptop or a binder or drink a beer, right, at one of those campus parties. And or maybe the students, they work on things in their club using school facilities. Now, again, far more complicated during COVID, and Tetra is, of course, observing COVID protocols. We're doing things online, social distancing, volunteers wearing masks, but let's all long for a world where there is no COVID. And then students are in school, they're doing courses on campus, in person, and have access to their machine shops and things. They could develop devices either for, again, their fellow students, or attend a chapter meeting and work with experienced Tetra volunteers to make devices. Again, you've heard me list some of them. Here's the actual visual if you want to know where we currently have a club. Very active, and students making a difference and putting their skills that they are learning to practical use. It's engineering 101. You get to hear from somebody what their needs are and then make a tangible, completed device. And again, here is a structure of some of the flow charts in a student club. Obviously, if you were to start a club, you'd make your own flow chart. Throughout Tetra, whether it's a student device or one of our experienced volunteers, safety is paramount. So safety, you know, a lot of our volunteers will leave instructions on how to use the device. And you have different project leads, so that's kind of leading the way to the goals that you want to complete. And you can see, you can have mechanical, electrical, software, different skill sets, biomedical. And then here are some of our student teams. That looks like a pretty cool kind of shark-like thing for people to use or get around in. I think that one was in Ontario. And then again, here's another example of a student club. And then back to the crib, you can see our baby from earlier is a little older. And this crib was designed by an experienced volunteer and a student engineer. The one in the black shirt was a student engineer, and they worked together to make the modified crib. So there again is our toll-free number that I said earlier. Thumbs up all the way around. You can do this. Contact us to start a Tetra club or a Tetra chapter. It has been my privilege to present this and be a part of the Roadshow put on by Connectra in the Okanagan. And I will stop screen sharing. And I don't know if we have, is there anything in chat? Or is it just the stuff that you post?
I've just had the stuff I posted, and I do not see anything in the YouTube chat as of yet.
Okay, well, I don't want to take up any more of Angela's time. She is an individual with many talents, and keeping the content coming for the Roadshow and Connectra. And I will apologize in advance because you will see more of my face and hear more of my voice later this week. But I will have a very special guest, Mr. Ian Price, and we will be doing a one-on-one interview on the 24th. So in a couple of days, he and I will have the privilege of interviewing Ian, and I believe that's 2 o'clock on the 24th. So if you'd like to hear less of me and more of Ian's amazing story, which is amazing, be sure to tune in on our live stream for my interview with Ian Price as part of the Okanagan Roadshow. That's 2 o'clock on Thursday, the 24th.
Awesome. And thank you, Eric, for presenting on Tetra. For everyone who's viewing this, stay tuned for the next event coming up really soon in about 15 minutes. So we look forward to having you join then.
All right. Well, I will say goodbye and make room for the next person.
Awesome. Have a great
Okay, so everything looks like it's working. So feel free to get started whenever you're ready.
Oh, it's just recorded and then shared, or?
Yep, so right now it's being streamed on our streaming site and then on YouTube. And then it's also being recorded for later as well.
Okay. And so is there an opportunity for questions at the end, or is that something that's?
Yep, there are.
Okay. Okay, perfect. Then I just start talking at any time, basically?
Yep, good to go whenever.
Okay. Hello, everyone. My name is Garnett Davidson. We also have Tanya Steele online as well. I am the manager with Community Inclusion and Home Share in Salmon Arm for Kindale, and Tanya is the coordinator of programs. So she's got quite the load. And I'm basically here to talk to you about Kindale, all about our programs, what we're about, and what we have to offer. And so some of our individuals that we support, we are a non-for-profit, community-based and CARP accredited agency. Kindale is a registered charity among Canada, and our primary funders is CLBC, so that's Community Living of BC, and the Ministry of Health. Our mission statement for Kindale, and the base what we operate is Kindale Developmental Association is a community-based network of dedicated staff providing individualized, person-centered support. You'll hear this a lot through the presentation, for persons with diverse abilities with an inclusive and interdependent community. And here is, this is actually our grand opening of the Linda Bosch Center, and I'll tell you a little bit in a second. It's a really interesting history of how Kindale started. And it's kind of one of the pieces that really drove our support and is why we operate the way that we do. It all started here. So that's why that piece, the history, is very important. Kindale started in Armstrong in 1959 as a small school for children with special needs. The original school was the vision of Linda Bosch, hence the Linda Bosch Center, a public health nurse serving Armstrong and Enderby. Sorry. And just based on Linda's experiences, she presented her ideas to the Armstrong Kinsmen Club and convinced the other members to take up her vision with a special needs school, and they kind of formed it together and put it into reality. It was formed with members and promoted the ideas and raised funds. Volunteers from Armstrong, Kinsmen Club, Enderby Lions Club, as well as many other people in the community. They worked very, very, very hard to get Kindale started. They worked evenings, weekends until the school was completed. So it's basically the community built Kindale and got it started. And so with this, the spirit of community building is an integral part of Kindale's history. And as the spirit continues in our motto, our mandate, and philosophy to the present day. So a little more pieces about Kindale, just to get us started from those. So from that beginning and that history, Kindale has now grown into a large community where there's full-time, part-time, casual staff, contractors, volunteers, serving adults with disabilities and their families in communities throughout the North Okanagan and the Columbia Shuswap. And this is just a list of some of the areas that we operate and kind of spread our wings. So a variety of programs. The variety of programs depends on the goals and the needs of the person served and outlined in their person-centered plan. And it is our job to network in the community and get very creative at times to help ensure that the person served has options that will best suit their needs. And to understand our programming, how it works, how it's driven, it's really important to understand how and why our program gets developed. Person-centered plans. So because our programming depends so much on this is why I might spend a little bit more time on this. And so what it is that the needs, the goals, wishes, and dreams of the person served are identified through the person's centered plan, and it becomes the driving force behind what their programming looks like. So we are meeting twice a year, and it's actually a working document so that as things change, we're changing with people. The person served plans is to enhance the person's strengths, abilities, preferences, gifts, to provide them with physical, emotional, mental well-being, social inclusion, interpersonal relationships, life skills, independence, and self-determination. Goals are broken down to be attainable to meet the current needs of each person. So if they're not able to meet a certain goal, we just look at how we can make it more attainable and maybe break it down to smaller steps. We adjust. And as the person served changes, because that's just how we roll with the punches, we grow and adapt, and so does the goals. We beat to their drum, not make them try to make it beat to ours. And these are some of our lovely persons served working on some of their goals. So this is some of the examples of some of the goals that our person served have been working on. So it's not just these ones. There's definitely way more depending on what each individual is working on. And the important thing to note is that as caregivers, it's our priority to give each person a better quality of life. And what that means is very different for each person served. So where it's very, very customized to what it is they want out of their own lives. Often we get very creative with activities and learning tools and making them interconnected. So swimming can be a coping tool, and a card game can be building on social skills and etiquette and different things like that. As an example, we're often blending different skills to help people grow. And yeah, for every activity, we can easily list off areas of learning and tools that can be built. And by tools, I mean just building a toolkit. For each person served, they build a toolkit, and they could then use those tools independently is the goal. Programs and services. So now that I've kind of covered the basis of our programming and how that kind of what drives it, is the next to look at what does that actually look like for person served and for Kindale. Home share. In case you aren't familiar with home share is when, and so this is one of the departments that I work in as the home share manager in Salmon Arm. So home share is when approved, which is a good key word there, community members open up their home and their life to a person with disabilities. So then we match, depending on each person served and a caregiver, we match them to try to find the most appropriate match, and then we monitor it accordingly to make sure that it's successful. And our goal is to make it successful for both the home share and for the person served. And so home share providers, they do have quite a bit of expectations on them at times. So they maintain their credentials, such as first aid, a clear driving record. They provide a safe and welcoming home that offers the individual an opportunity for inclusion and to provide persons served with the best chance of a better quality of life. And then another very key piece is to maintain and manage all mental health and physical health needs. So sometimes it's, with some individuals, it's the mental health piece, some it's more of the physical, and then we will just match that up accordingly. And so outside of home share, so home share is in all of the communities that we operate. And then, but when it comes for day programs and residential, we have one in Salmon Arm, one in Armstrong, and 2 in Vernon. And for residential, we have 3 staffed residential homes in Vernon, and then 3 staffed residential homes in Armstrong. And each one looks very different from the next, depending on the needs of the person served. Main Street. So Main Street is in Vernon, and it has actually just recently moved, which is really nice, into a nice big space. And the picture on there is, of course, of the new location. They are now on 27th Street in Vernon. Main Street is a resource for people who lead independent or semi-independent lives in the community and are not comfortable with traditional programming. Some of the programming that you might see at Main Street is customized employment, art programs, cooking, life skills, sex, relationship education, social and movie nights, outdoors, and wilderness recreation. So in Seton Center is also in Vernon. Seton Center is quite a large building, 3,700 square feet of wheelchair accessible program space, designated to accommodate all the persons served with a variety of disabilities. Yeah, they have a really great space there that helps them just have very diverse programming and different rooms as well, depending on what's going on. Seton primarily serves older individuals, many of whom came to Kindale from large institutions such as Woodlands and Tregville. IG, that's what we usually call it for short, but independent generation is in Armstrong. Like Main Street Connections, independent generation reflects the shift towards greater community inclusion. Yeah, they do a lot in the community, as much as possible, as long as we're COVID safe, of course. Participants are encouraged to be active outside the center and many of the planned activities. And so there's lots of work. We work very, very hard to create lots of employment opportunity for individuals and connecting with the community. Seminar Center, this one's kind of my baby. It is, of course, in Seminar, is set up for diverse mental health and physical health needs. We deal with quite the gamut here. Seminar features a computer room, sensory room, TV room, and large programming center. Some of the programs that you might see here, because we have both outreach and community inclusion here, is customized employment, lots of life skills, healthy emotions. We deal with a lot of anxiety, depression, things like that. There's cooking, baking, yoga, chair yoga, meditation. We have hygiene programs that we do in the center, financial support, and medication management, especially for our outreach individuals. Kindale Homes. I started out working for the Kindale Homes once upon a time. And these are some of the individuals that I supported at that time. Person served that live in Kindale residential homes. They're placed with compatible roommates, and everyone works as a team in the home, which is great. We have 6 in total for Kindale. And each of our residences is designed and staffed to provide the residents with the most home-like atmosphere possible. They're just located in your typical residential areas and resembling the homes of those others in the neighborhood. Programs are prepared on an individual basis and carried out to provide maximum independence and support through individual program planning using positive principles of behavior management. We do have a behavior consultant on staff, and she is very active within the residential homes, and she does a lot of amazing work. And we've been very successful at working with staff and with individuals to bring out their best self. And My first time going to one of the residential homes, I actually passed it a few times because I didn't realize it was a residential home. The only way to really tell at times is that the wheelchair accessible vans are parked out front, which is, it's really nice. And just a little piece about residential homes. The homes they have rotating staff, and it's 24 hours a day. And of course, the bulk of it during the day, depending on who's home, what's programming, things like that. The environment is very much a home setting. It's made to feel as homey as possible. And Persons Served usually have additional community inclusion programming. And so that's a lot of our persons served in the homes. They have Kindale programming, but they don't have to. There's a lot who have other programming in the communities. It's the choice of the person served. Outreach. This is a big bulk of my experience is through outreach. So much along the lines of the homes where we're in charge of managing all their medical, behavioral, all of those needs. In home share, the caregiver is the one who manages it. Me as a manager and coordinator, I support them with that. But then the day programs deals with all the community inclusion pieces. Whereas outreach, we're kind of all of that, and same with residential. So we manage their health, any doctor's appointments, mental health appointments, anything that comes up really. So many of the persons served live on their own. That is the key factor. They live very independent living, very independently. Kindale outreach supports allow the same level of independence while supporting individuals with whatever it is that they need. So for some, it's like a big financial support. Others, it's more the mental health piece. It's very unique to each person. And so some of the things that, like, what it kind of looks like is the main pieces to get them to live as independently as possible. We essentially want to work ourselves out of a job. We do lots of meal planning and preparation, lots of budgeting, transportation, but ideally we're getting them to be independent with their own transportation, with errands, appointments, and activities. We help with laundry, chores around the house, basic living skills, helping with medical needs such as appointments, and advocating for support with the person served. That's definitely a big part of my job, is advocating for them, because it's usually mainly me that deals with a lot of that outreach piece. Thrift stores, and so we used to have 3, now we have 2. And these are pictures of 2 of our thrift stores. One's in Armstrong and one's in Vernon. And so, oops, I will just go back for a second. So our thrift stores, the biggest thing about our thrift stores is they help funding our program, our programming, and they create jobs for a person served. They provide access to necessities for a person served. So it's created a lot of opportunities for in that way, and it's been so beneficial to have the thrift stores running just to assist with our programming. Kindale partnerships, especially because this is such a big part of how Kindale started and how we kind of exist, as I wanted to make sure to list some of our Kindale partnerships. So there's actually quite a long list. It's not just these people as well. Our partnerships quite fluctuate, and depending on what's going on in the year. But CLBC, of course, that's our major funder. Special Olympics is huge, and so is Work BC. Those are some big ones. And the transit system, interior health possibilities, Salvation Army, and ASCUs. We're always trying to supplement our programming with something in the community as much as possible. And this is just some more of this is actually some pictures of the Kindale Center, the Salmon Arm Center. But some of our other partnerships is the Prestige Family Resource Center, especially in Salmon Arm, is quite huge. Second Harvest, Hospice, does a lot of the counseling in our area, especially any kind of like trauma or loss. Voice of the Shuswap, NOTRA, United Way, and yeah, Alcoholics Anonymous and Weight Watchers. That's to list a chunk of them. Okay, and then not only do one thing I'd like to leave you guys with before we go to questions is not only do the staff make a difference with our person served, but our person served make a difference in our community. And so that's kind of the, that's where making a difference together, as with Kindale, those are a lot of the values that we'd like to bring forward. And so this is the Kindale website. So if you have any questions or you want to look for more information, please look at the, please check it out, go online. Tanya, is there anything that you'd like to add? No? Okay. Any questions?
I just have one question. Thank you for the presentation. That was great. That was super informative. It looks like you guys have a huge variety of different programs. I was wondering maybe if you could talk a bit about more was it the Main Street connections? You said you have like a few different programs that are a bit different from the usual ones that people usually go into.
Yeah, I don't know if Tanya, if you'd be able to speak on behalf of Main Street, because you've spent quite a bit more time there than I have.
Sure. So Main Street, we pretty much run community inclusion. It's all pretty much based on a 1-to-1 staff person served ratio. And we have the employment program. So we really push for people to get jobs. We help them find those jobs. We support them while they're doing their jobs. And continue on to some start 1 day a week and they move to 5 days a week. That's pretty much the only difference between IG, Main Street, Salmon Arm, and Seton Center. It's the employment piece.
Yeah, Salmon Arm is all 1-to-1. IG is a combination of 1-to-1 and global programming. And then, like you said, Main Street is mainly 1-to-1, correct, Tanya?
Yeah, pretty much, yeah.
Okay, I see. Thank you. Well, if there's no more questions, thank you guys so much for coming out. Is there anything else you'd like to add before I end it?
No, I don't think so. Thank you very much for having us, though. It's
Yeah,
been
no
a pleasure
problem.
putting this together.
Thank you.
And hopefully this works. Okay, awesome. So hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Okanagan Virtual Roadshow presented by Connectra and the Disability Foundation. We're super excited to have Chris here today, or Benjamin representing Chris, should probably clarify that, here today. And I'll hand it off to him to take over.
Yeah, hello everybody. So again, my name's Benjamin. I'm here from CRIS, the Community Recreational Initiative Society. We've been here in Kelowna serving the central Okanagan region of BC and really trying to make the outdoors accessible since 2001. So before I start off, I just want to recognize and respectfully acknowledge that we operate on the traditional and unceded territory of the South Okanagan and Secwepemc peoples. So the biggest question that we get is, who's Chris? And Chris, naturally, isn't one person. Chris describes a very small but passionate staff team which is supported by a large group of incredibly dedicated volunteers. So CRIS was founded 20 years ago this summer in 2001 by Troy Becker and Lynette LeConder, and they were inspired by a close relative of theirs who has Down syndrome. And this relative grew up in an incredibly outdoorsy family in the Kootenays. And this family always made sure that this relative with Down syndrome was always supported and able to participate fully in all of their outdoor adventures and outdoor pursuits. Now, when this family eventually moved away from the Kootenays, they soon realized that lots of other diversely abled individuals across BC don't have the same support and don't have equal access to the outdoors because lots of outdoor spaces are not accessible to many different individuals. So with these lived experiences and their passion for all things outdoors, Troy and Lynette really strives to create an organization that specialized in supporting people with various physical, cognitive, intellectual, or sensory challenges, whether they be permanent or temporary, to gain access to all forms of outdoor pursuits. So that's really the story into how CRIS came to be so long ago. It started off just with Troy and Lynette and a couple of their close friends out of their homes and their backyards. And again, over the years, they slowly were able to gain more funding as they made more connection through their community. And they built up their volunteer team and built up their client base to who we are now. We're a large operation now operating in Kelowna and across the Okanagan. So our mission statement is to provide support to people with physical, cognitive, intellectual, and sensory challenges and disabilities by developing and implementing outdoor and wilderness recreation and sport programs. And these are all in order to promote and assist with integration, to reduce isolation, and to improve the mental well-being of the individuals that we help. So I'd really just like to draw attention to some of the wording here, and especially the word support. In all of our trainings, all of our staff are trained in a way, and our programs are set up in a way to support our clients. Never, ever on any of our trips are we throwing our clients into one of our trail riders or onto a tandem recumbent bicycle and just taking them out for the trip. Our trips are designed so that our clients will come up with a goal, with what they would like to get out of the experience, and we're there to communicate with them and find out how we can best support them in achieving the goals that they have for themselves. It's really all about us maximizing the independence and the experience of our clients. So with that, our vision is to create an inclusive world free of barriers where all people who face a barrier are able to experience the therapeutic benefits of outdoor recreation and sport. So a lot of that and the work that we do across the Okanagan region and with some of our programs across the province of British Columbia as a whole, we are actively creating that inclusive world, that inclusive barrier-free world. But the second part of what we're trying to do is we're trying to get our name and our story out there so that members of communities across the province, but also the country, will listen to our story and be inspired to start building that barrier-free world in their own communities. So CRIS, the Community Recreational Initiative Society, operates 3 different programs. So I'll give you a bit of a snapshot of 3 programs that we operate before going into some greater detail. So the first program that we operate is our Adaptive Adventures program. I'm a summer student staff with CRIS this summer. I'm incredibly fortunate. And I do the majority of my work in the Adaptive Adventures program. So the Adaptive Adventures program primarily operates hiking, cycling, and paddling trips. And those occur across the Okanagan region, all the way from Peachland to West Kelowna, Lake Country, Oyama, and Vernon. And these trips are recurring weekly. Our second program is our Adaptive Rentals program. So this differs from Adaptive Adventures, as our Adaptive Adventures program is comprised of pre-scheduled trips. And our schedule doesn't always line up perfectly with the schedule of our clients. So to continue to be more adaptive and accommodating to the clients we serve, we have our adaptive rentals. So our clients can call us up and say, hey, I would like to rent a tandem recumbent tricycle on this date for this window of time, and we will meet them at a pre-designated location, or we'll deliver the equipment to them free of charge. Our third program, our Accessible Wilderness Expeditions Program, or AW, as we affectionately call it, it differs from the rest of the programs the most. At AW, we enable our outdoor wilderness experiences for people that require additional supports, and we'll make any destination available for anyone to experience it no matter their abilities. So this program really operates on the basis that if a client can dream it, we'll make it happen. So these trips occur largely outside of the Okanagan region, BC. So we'll go into the Rockies and we'll do multi-day canoe trips or multi-day camping trips. We've scaled glaciers. It really is, if a client can dream it, we will find a way to make it happen for them. So I'm gonna take a minute just to go over some of the equipment that we use on a daily basis and the cost breakdown. So to start off, I'd like to highlight our adaptive kayaks here. We have a number of different types of kayaks. The one visualized here is a tandem kayak, so it's got 2 seats. We also have solo kayaks, and we have open top ocean kayaks. The kayak that is visualized here, our adaptive tandem kayak, is the one that we'll use most commonly on our trips. And this kayak has an outrigging system on the back, which connects to 2 pontoons, which make the kayak essentially untippable. Before any of our staff can actually go out on trips, we do extensive staff training in learning various types of adaptive rescues in the event that we have to use them. And in our trainings, we try to flip these boats, and it's not possible. It's really difficult. So with this outrigging system on these kayaks, clients who don't necessarily have the core strength to be able to balance a boat will be able to take our boats out and feel confident and make the most out of their experience paddling in the water. We also have a number of different adaptive equipment, such as a whole bunch of different types of chairs to help support our clients that we can put into the boats. We also have some equipment that will actually hold a paddle in front of the client, and it will guide the paddle in and out of the water. So all the client will have to do is they'll have to push and pull with their arms. And in the event that we have a client who's hemiplegic, for example, and can only push and pull with one arm, they're able to do that as well. So these kayaks cost us approximately $6,500 a unit, so they're expensive. The next piece of equipment that I have to highlight is our tandem recumbent tricycle. So again, it's tricycles. It's got 2 wheels in the front, 1 in the back. It's super low to the ground, so it's a really stable piece of equipment. And unlike most tandem bike systems that are stand up, when the person in the front is pedaling, the person in the back has to pedal because the pedals are connected. These bikes have independent systems. So a client in the back can pedal as much or as little as they want to. Someone in the front can pedal at the same time, and the pedals in the back won't be moving. And again, we have tons of different adaptations that we can throw on these bikes that include static pedals that don't move if a client doesn't want to pedal. We also have some adaptive pedals that will secure themselves to the feet of our clients. So if they don't necessarily have some mobility limitations, they're able to keep their feet on the pedals and they can still pedal strong if they'd like to. And these bikes cost us about 10 grand a piece, so they're also really expensive. The next piece of equipment that I'd highlight is our Black Diamond Trail Rider, which I may have mentioned earlier. And this is an incredibly robust piece of equipment. It's essentially an adaptive wheelchair. It's got 1 wheel that it balances on directly underneath the client who'd be in it. And again, just like all of our other equipment, it's incredibly adaptive. The seats move, the armrests move. We have lots of different foam and stuff that we can pack in to make the client as comfortable as possible, although even without, it's an incredibly comfortable chair. And is piloted by a staff member who we'd refer to as the pilot in the back, who's responsible for balancing the trail rider. And we have a volunteer in the front who's responsible for the forwards momentum and pulling that trail rider. So I myself, I'm an incredibly avid hiker. Anything that I would like to hike or could hike, I could absolutely take a client on in a trail rider. It's an incredibly robust piece of equipment, and it really allows us to bring our clients to some incredible destinations, whether those be mountain summits or canyon walls or following a stream. One of the biggest missions of CRIS is to take ordinary people with abnormal circumstances and put them in extraordinary situations. And our Black Diamond Trail Rider really allows us to do that for our clients. The fourth piece of equipment that I'd just like to highlight quickly over here is our mountain e-assist bikes. And so we have step-through models, we have regular framed models, depending on mobility limitations that people might have. A lot of these bikes have throttles to them, so an individual wouldn't have to pedal if they didn't want to, but they also have pedal assist functions to help a client who still wants to get some exercise in. So as you can see, the equipment that we own and operate is incredibly expensive. So an average cost for a CRIS trip will range between $350 to $450 to CRIS. However, the cost to our clients is only $35, and that is due to our corporate and community sponsors who heavily subsidize our programs. And our connection with these sponsors is what really allows us to fulfill our mission in not only breaking down physical barriers through the use of adaptive equipment, but also breaking down financial barriers for our clients. So back to our Adaptive Adventures program. So like I mentioned earlier, our Adaptive Adventures program covers adaptive cycling, adaptive hiking, and adaptive paddling. So in a number of these images here, it highlights a lot of the equipment that we operate. So down here is visualized some of our kayaks, got our trail riders up here, some adaptive bicycles. And these two images here are showcasing our Bowhead Reach Park Explorers. And these are essentially e-tricycles. And they'll take you on any type of terrain you could imagine. They're incredible pieces of equipment. So again, like I mentioned earlier, we have on our website our activity calendar for our Adaptive Adventures program, and that has listed all of the recurring weekly trips that we're operating throughout the summer. So our clients will go on our website and they'll pick and choose whichever trips they are interested in doing, and they'll book them, and we'll bring all the equipment to the designated meeting spot at the correct time. And our trips will last 2 hours. So our clients will come out, and that 2 hours is going to account for any time needed to transfer a client into or out of our equipment, typically leaving us with an hour and a half at least to go out and do our cycling trip or a hiking trip or out for a paddle. So here we have a video highlighting our Adaptive Adventures program. So that was a bit of an in-depth look at our Adaptive Adventures program. And I'd just like to take a minute to read out some client testimonials that we've received over the years. So on the screen are just some screenshots of some testimonials we received, but I'm going to read out one that we received just this year from a recreation coordinator at a care home that frequently books CRIS trips for their clients. So at 39 years old, 3 years ago, this female client was going to be confined to a wheelchair due to her frequent falls. I was not happy about this. I spoke with the CRIS team to see if they could help, and boy, did they help. So with lots of hard work, caring attitudes, patience, and understanding by the CRIS team, this young lady is not in a wheelchair today because she got to go on these CRIS adventures. Kayaking, hiking, and cycling strengthens her physically and mentally. This young lady loves the CRIS Adaptive Adventures program so much, as do I. Joy runs down my cheeks as I write this precious memory. I've been working at this brain injury home for about 5 years, helping to care for 24 clients and their recreational activity needs. Almost since day one, I have made CRIS our #1 priority after seeing all the awesome work they have accomplished. Besides the physical and mental strengthening of our clients, they also invest in strengthening their self-esteem, as the CRIS team is absolutely devoted to helping the whole person. To be a part of the CRIS adaptive programs gives me great joy, both personally and professional care. So again, that was a testimonial from a client care aide from a home that we frequently work with. One more testimonial that I would like to read from you comes from a client of ours who's appreciative of a trip that we took him on. And he writes, "I hope you will share with your team my sincerest of thanks for my trip on Saturday. It was a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity for me, and I'm really grateful. Your leadership and expertise was impressive, and the magnitude of the climb was not something I anticipated. I still have trouble getting my hands around the fact that I went to the top and the bottom of that area. It was not my definition of a hike, which made it really cool. Again, as an adventure, it was one of the coolest things I've ever done. But the experience itself isn't what had me so speechless. I'm going to try to articulate it though. I am a 56-year-old professional man. I've been in high-profile situations my entire life. That has afforded me opportunities to see and do some amazing things. I've traveled the world, met 2 presidents, been in the middle of super fun events, and more. I have lived a full and productive life. I am not the guy in a wheelchair who sits at home all day waiting by the window. But still, you rocked my world. The idea that you've created this experience for people like me is jaw-dropping. You and your organization thought about providing this for people like me, and it is beyond my belief. Finally, on a Saturday morning, 6 people I've never met got up and dragged my big butt for a 5K hike/climb in what had to be challenging conditions for 5 hours. That is one of the largest single acts of kindness I have ever received. And for that, I'll never forget any of you. Thank you so much." So on that note, I thought that I myself would talk a little bit about why I decided to work with CRIS this summer. And it really is because of the clients. I am happiest when I'm swimming in the lake, or I'm out paddling on the lake, or I'm attempting to summit a mountain, or I'm out mountain biking down a steep trail. That's where I'm happiest. And in fact, that's what brought me out to Kelowna just 2 years ago. I'm from Toronto originally, but it was the mountains and the lakes, the hiking and the cycling that really brought me out here. I know how much those experiences mean to me, and I can't imagine how much they mean to our clients, who, for a lot of them, wouldn't be able to access these types of outdoor pursuits without our programming. So to be able to provide the experiences that I value so much to individuals who value them an immeasurable amount more than I do is incredible. I really love the work that I get to do, and I'm incredibly blessed and incredibly grateful that I get to be a part of such an incredible organization. So to move forward, I'm going to talk a little bit about our adaptive rentals program. So again, adaptive rentals differs from our adaptive adventures in that we rent out all of our equipment to our clients to make it fit into their schedules. So again, we're super adaptive with the timeframes that we rent things out. Clients can take them overnight for sure. They can take them for a full day or smaller time windows if they wish, and we will deliver free of charge. With our adaptive rentals program, the difference is we won't send staff necessarily unless they're requested, but for the most part, we don't send staff with our clients. So it's really up to them, and they make the most of their experience. they have the adaptive equipment. So this year, actually, we, as essentially an extension of our adaptive rentals program, we have started Kelowna Bike Rentals, which is a social enterprise. So it's a collaboration between our charity, CRIS Adaptive, and another local charity in Kelowna called Elevation Outdoors. Elevation Outdoors runs mountain biking programs for at-risk youth. And we're profit sharing through this social enterprise. So all of the proceeds from all of our rentals get split between the two charities and go directly back into all of our adaptive programming in our local community. So this is a unique opportunity for both CRIS and for Elevation Outdoors because we're combining our resources. So we've set up an operation at the base of Knox Mountain Park, if anyone is familiar with the location of Knox Mountain in Kelowna, which is a great location. It gives our clients access to all of Knox Mountain's mountain biking trails. It also gives them access to the Kelowna Rail Trail, and it also gives them access to our city park trails that will take you all the way down the lake. You can continue all the way down into South Kelowna out to the wineries if you would like to. So with this operation, having combined resources from CRIS Adaptive and Elevation Outdoors was able to supply us with many high quality mountain bikes. So those will include standard mountain bikes with both standard frames and step-through frames, as well as a large fleet of e-assist mountain bikes. Some of them have throttles, others are pedal assist, and it allowed us to supply them with all of our adaptive bikes. So having all those on display out at Knox Mountain has been great for getting our name out there, and we've gotten some great feedback from the community who are loving the opportunity to take out some of our adaptive bikes and some of Elevation's mountain bikes out on the trails. Then finally, our last program that I'm going to highlight is our Accessible Wilderness Expeditions program, or AW. So again, like I said before, if a client can dream it, we will make it happen. And we've taken clients to traverse glaciers, on multi-day camping trips, on canoe trips. And these will happen in the summer, and they'll also happen in the winter, as you can see here from some of these photos. So again, if a client can dream it, we will get together a team of incredibly dedicated volunteers and staff who will take them out there and give them an incredible experience. Whether they're helicoptering into an area or they're taking a sled, we'll make some pretty incredible experiences for them. So with that, we've got a video as well highlighting our AW program. All right. So those are the three programs that we operate here at CRIS. So now that I've given you some good information there, I want to talk a little bit about our impact in the communities that we serve. So over our 2019-2020 season, we served the communities of Peachland, West Kelowna, Kelowna, Oyama, and Vernon with our adaptive adventures and adaptive rentals programs, and 8 other BC communities or regions through our Accessible Wilderness Expeditions program. So to give you some real numbers, we served over 1,200 clients. We involved nearly 2,000 dedicated volunteers with a total number of trips being just over 3,200 for the year. So really made a big impact in the large area that we serve. So I'd just like to take a moment to give a special thanks to all of our local community and corporate sponsors, because without the funding that they generously have given us, we wouldn't be able to offer our programming at the low cost that we're able to. In addition to this funding that we receive, if the fees are still a barrier for some of our clients or some families, we also have scholarship programs. We can give out partial scholarships to our clients, or sometimes in some cases full scholarships for the programs that they would like to participate in, all thanks to our sponsors. So we are really grateful. All right, so I thought I'd leave you with a lot of our contact information. The top phone number is directly to our office. Our admin at adaptiveadventures.ca email is a great piece of contact information, as well as our websites for adaptiveadventures.ca and accessiblewilderness.ca. So this brings me to the end of my presentation. So if anyone has any questions, I would be more than happy to answer them at this time.
Thank you, Benjamin. It's Donna. That was absolutely fabulous. It looks like you're a very seasoned presenter, and I can feel your enthusiasm. So it's fabulous. Thank you. I did have a question about it's like a tricycle,
okay,
but it's only for one person. What did you call that? Just a tricycle?
Our Bowhead Reach Park Explorer.
Okay, no, that's the one that has some power to it, doesn't it?
Yes, that one does.
Yes. There was one that's sort of just like a bike. I saw it. It was almost like one of those.
Videos?
Yeah, and the wheel was out front, and they were up like this. And I've seen them on the Greenway, right? I waved a couple of times.
Yep.
So just wondering what they are. What you call them?
We operate a number of different tricycles. So some of them you might have seen are just a standard tricycle with the handlebars up high. Also have a number of hand cycles where instead of pedaling with your feet, you have right where your typical handlebars would be, you have a mechanism where you will, pedal with your arms essentially. Which
right.
Maybe well.
That was going to be my next one. So it seems like those are for individuals then, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Is that one that you have? Is it just an arm-propelled tricycle?
Exactly. Yeah, we operate 2 of those.
Okay.
Yeah, we have a number of different tricycles. We have some e-assist ones as well that weren't the Bowhead Reach Explorer. And those just have pedal assist. So you can pedal if you'd like to, or you don't have to pedal at all.
Okay. And your Bowhead, that looks absolutely fabulous. Now, is that on an inflated tire?
It is, yes.
Yes. So you'd obviously have to have a pump there. How fast do you go?
Those Bowhead Reach Explorers can reach almost 50 kilometers an hour. They're fast. Yes. Yeah, it takes some training definitely to operate those pieces of equipment.
Wow, that's impressive. Thank you. I really appreciated learning about that. Great.
Okay, I'm not seeing any further questions, both in the Zoom room or on the YouTube live stream. So with that, I want to thank you, Benjamin, for presenting CRIS and for speaking about what your organization does and how more people can be a part of it and use the services you guys provide.
Thank you so much for having us. This was an incredible opportunity. We're so grateful.
Awesome. And I wish everyone here, both on or in the Zoom meeting as well as on the live stream, to have a wonderful day. It's beautiful outside. A great opportunity to reach out to CRIS and actually use some of these services. So have a wonderful day, everyone. And I look forward to hopefully seeing you in the other Roadshow events later this week.